Hello and welcome. A few months ago I was watching YouTube, what a surprise, and I came across one of the cool YouTubers, Standish Wood Story. Apologies for probably poor pronunciation of your first name, Winnie, but I just watched a video and I thought I will give it a go. How hard can it be? So I went through all my scrap wood, offcuts and so on, and I just thought, ooh, let's make the most out of it. So I had one pile that will be mainly made out of oak, and the inlays will be made out of iroko and mahogany, like the one on the screen. And then finally I managed to get a few pieces of walnut, and for me that was crazy exciting. I have never worked with walnut in the past, and I have to say I love it. It's just a beautiful wood, but somehow it's a little bit less popular where I am. Anyway, I had to start the whole process with going through the thicknesser just to get a little bit more consistent thickness of the wood, and then I started to play with the bandsaw. The good call was that I bought a new blade, which I think it is a 1/4 inch, just to make a little bit easier job of making the curves. And the gluing process was a little bit tricky. I have to say that in the process of gluing up quite a few times across a couple of days, I realized that I simply need more clamps. Hence later on I went and bought a few more. But that is a board that it will be oak and iroko, and these are the two pieces of walnut that I have, and I will try to match it with oak. On that occasion I'm using red oak. Again, that's what I had, so I didn't spend any actual money at this time to get any wood, and I tried to make the most out of what I had. And I didn't want to go too crazy in terms of mixing different wood colors and species, and I just thought I will try on just this one, and the rest will be just a wavy embedded thin strip into it. And I thought I would try slightly thicker ones, and I have to say that somehow I'm a little bit less keen on the thick ones. Again, interestingly, my kids said that they actually like this one the most. Personally, somehow I found it slightly too much. And yes, that was the good opportunity to spend a few quid and bought on a good deal on Bessay webpage quite a few clamps just to add to the collection. And this is the longer piece that out of it I will make 2 separate cheese boards. And the whole idea was to make a couple of gifts for mainly family and a couple of friends. And funny enough, down the line I realized that I should have probably made a few more. Somehow at the time of working on that project, temperature in UK was anything in between 1 and 10 degrees. So overall I had to, after cutting and gluing up each piece, I had to go back to the house and just keep at home all the glue ups, otherwise the glue will never cure or it would take forever. So now it is time to flatten up the pieces, and initially I thought that it would be easier to have the inlays slightly wider than the main board, but down the line I just realized that then it is mission impossible to actually go back to the bandsaw and cut it again. And I tried to use the features like this knot and make a hook in the handle, and yeah, don't scrap it, just use it and make it as a feature. So initially I thought that it would be quite easy just to play with the inlays. However, down the line I realized that I need to clamp each inlay so that it will not slide out of the wood. I'm using 35mm Forstner bit to make the main opening. And yeah, that was the size, the biggest one that I had, and I thought it will be probably spot on. I wasn't too worried about the shape, and I just thought just go with the flow and just play with the wood. For all the cuts, I usually sketched up something that I want to achieve up front, but then it was more driven by how flexible the bandsaw is and what curves can I actually achieve. And then of course a little bit of help from belt sander solved most of the corners and sharp edges. Funny enough, the main belt sander was absolutely spot on, but now you can see that I tried to use this add-on to improve the corners and so on, and suddenly I realized, oh shit, it's so wobbly, and it is the first time that I used it, so the main bracket was simply loose, so I had to tighten up a couple of screws. Somehow I fell in love with walnut. It's just another beautiful hardwood. Anyway, just going around the handles and so on, just to cut out all the waste before sanding begins. Couple of corners around the handles were a little bit too tight, and this lovely add-on for the drill helped me out. However, again, I couldn't get into all of the tight corners, so some bits I had to sand by hand, which again is not a problem, but with the hardwood it's just a little bit more time consuming overall. And yeah, how did I survive without a vise for so long? Now I have two vices in my bench and I'm just loving it. It's just so handy. But in the past, somehow I managed to clamp it, hold it, and do all that sanding without vise, which was always a nightmare. And now I'm filling up tiny voids. Again, nothing dramatic, but I just want to make sure it will be spot on. So I'm using just the usual wood glue, and I didn't do any cutouts, perforated holes for the paper, and all the dust is getting embedded into the tiny cracks. Of course the sandpaper is killed after this, but all the micro cracks just disappeared, so happy days. And of course after this I will go over the whole board and sand it off nicely to take out any scratches, potential scratches. And I'm using, I think, 3.5mm round over bit just to go over all the boards, and then sand off all the edges by hand just to make it nicely finished. And yeah, it's starting to look nice. And this is another little toy tool that I got from Banggood or Temu, I think 18 quid, and it actually is quite good. I don't have a compressor, so this little tool makes it life easier just to get rid of the dust. And now, question for you: which one do you like, oak and mahogany, oak iroko, or walnut and oak? I would be interested to know. Please leave your comments later on if you can. And I'm not blown somehow by this wood burning process. Just made quite a lot of smoke. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Yep, exactly. If this is the best quality, probably I should have invested in an engraving tool, laser one, and probably that will be better. So of course all of those I had to sand off, and after a bit of sanding all the signs are getting nicer. So again, which one do you like? This one, which is oak and mahogany. This one, oak and iroko. And the last option is walnut and oak. So it would be interesting just to know. My favorite one is walnut and oak. However, my kids preferred oak and iroko, and a couple of other members of family said, ooh, I actually like the top one, which is oak and mahogany. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And overall I was aiming for slightly elongated boards with a substantial handle so that it will be just comfortable to carry any food. And after applying 4 mineral oil finishes, now it is time to apply this cutting board citrus scent wax. Doesn't do much, not sure, but it smells nice, so I thought, hey ho, let's add it, no harm in this one. So final touches, and if you lasted for the past 10 minutes and enjoyed this video, if you could subscribe, like or comment, that would be absolutely amazing. Anyway, thank you for watching and enjoy the last few photographs of the finished products. See you next time. Bye.